Welcome back to the 411 Podcasting Network. I am your host, Larry Csonka, and this is episode 75 of the 411 on Wrestling Podcast. You can follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, the 411mania.com website, and any major podcasting platform. Please make sure to subscribe to our show, share us around on social media, and if you have time, leave us a 5-star review on the app of your choice. Joining me, as always, is my co-host and friend, Jeremy Lambert. Jeremy, how are you tonight, sir?
Well, it is Saturday night or Sunday or Friday, depending on how this gets edited. And it's a long weekend, but a good weekend for the combat sports and sports entertainment world.
That's right. It is a busy weekend. This show, we're going to be covering the NWA Into the Fire pay-per-view, ROH Final Battle, and WWE TLC. We'll have full reviews of all the shows. We are taping a little bit out of order. In the spirit of full disclosure, we are taping after the NWA pay-per-view now on Saturday night for this opening portion of the show. And so we officially start the show with NWA Into the Fire 2019, Jeremy. The NWA hitting pay-per-view on Fight TV. And it's pretty big deal for them, obviously. You know, they obviously did things like NWA 70 and stuff, but we're really ramping things up now in the power era of the NWA, as they do have a weekly outlet on YouTube and now doing pay-per-view.
Yeah, this was their first pay-per-view in the Power era, so first pay-per-view with a TV build. And according to them, the pay-per-view buys were better than I think it was Crockett Cup that they were better than, but maybe 70 as well. So that's a good sign that pay-per-view buys were up coming into this event with the television that they have.
Yeah, that's definitely good news if that's the case, especially if it's ahead of NWA 70, because as you remember, NWA 70 had Cody on it.
I think it's a good sign if it's ahead of ROH Final Battle.
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously. And no offense, not trying to be an asshole, don't think that'd be overly hard these days, because just the low level of interest in ROH. And it seems to be a strong audience in support of the NWA right now. And we will break down the show, Jeremy. Did you have fun watching the show, first of all, before we get into everything?
Yeah, I like that it started at 6 and ended by 8:30. More pay-per-views should do this.
Fuck yeah, I like that the last TakeOver, it was like a quick show like this, too. I greatly appreciate shows that do not go on for 4 hours, because when you start hitting that 4-hour mark, man, you have to be putting on a really, really great product throughout to keep everybody's attention.
Even if it's a great product, like some of and maybe it's the time difference, but even like Wrestle Kingdom is 4 or 5 hours, and like all those matches are great, but still by that 4th hour, I'm just like, all right, I've had enough.
Yeah, and I kind of agree. I think part of it is the time thing. I tend not to feel tired at the end of Wrestle Kingdom as opposed to, say, like a B-level WWE pay-per-view that goes overly long. So
that's fair.
But, I mean, I do think that's fair criticism, though, and I wouldn't blame anybody that gets tired watching a 4 or 5 hour Wrestle Kingdom, so don't feel bad if you do. It's a long show, and especially if you're dealing with the time difference. But NWA Into the Fire 2019, Jeremy, we started off Eli Drake defeating Ken Anderson 9-12 via pin, according to my stopwatch. I thought that this was a good, basic, and strongly worked opening match. I thought the right man won. Thought it was the right match to kick things off, because Eli Drake is obviously over. The crowd really likes him, and they definitely seem to have some plans for the guy, which I don't blame them at all. So I thought it was a good little opening match.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it. They didn't work outside of their comfort zone or anything like that. It was perfectly acceptable. They didn't do anything wrong, but they also didn't like kick it into a second gear and like, oh, okay, this was like, it's something I probably won't remember in a couple of days. Ken Anderson, never really been a fan of the guy, so maybe that hurt my enjoyment as well. He's a little bit out of shape nowadays, doesn't move as well as he used to. Eli Drake is good, but this wasn't going to be the match where he was going to like show off his world-class wrestling skills. But the right man won, and so that is a good sign.
Yeah, and I thought it was better than I expected, honestly, because I'm with you on Ken Anderson. Never been overly a huge fan of his. I never thought he was that great in the ring. I expected him to really drag it down, but again, I thought it was a good, basic, solidly worked match, and I enjoyed it, so it was a fine opener. Next up, we got a Nick Aldis interview. He praised the NWA rising from the dead, making it to pay-per-view, and he's headlining. He's holding the Real World Championship. Him and James Storm have the chance to live forever in tonight's main event. He's going to take him into the deep waters. David Marquez asked him about Camille, and all Aldis said was Camille had the night off. So he declined to comment, basically, again. James Storm arrived, and says they all did this as a team. The fans came along for the ride because this is the NWA, and tonight he's going to prove that he's a tough son of a bitch, and he's going to become the new champion. Thought it was a good little promo segment.
Yeah, I liked it. The whole, like, we're doing this for the crowd and all that stuff, I can kind of live without. But as far as just building to the match that we've already paid for, it was fine.
Yeah. We got a little pre-match promo from Tasha Steelz, who was making her debut tonight. Talked about she was going to bring the Latino heat in her debut. She kind of did, but she lost to Thunder Rosa. 4 minutes and 20 seconds via pin. Jeremy, your thoughts?
I like that she got a pre-match promo. I never expected her to win because Tasha Steelz or Thunder Rosa is someone they're clearly semi-high on, especially with her doing the MMA stuff as well. They can... I think they definitely see her as like a crossover kind of star. So Thunder Rosa was probably always going to win this match. But Tasha Steelz at least got a chance to show off her personality a little bit in the pre-match promo where even though she lost, we still got to know a little bit more about her. And she was treated as more than just enhancement talent coming in to put Thunder Rosa over.
Yeah, and I also thought that was important because it was her debut and she's not a big indie name that a lot of people would know. So I thought that was very important to give her a little talking time, get a little personality over. I thought they had a perfectly solid little match. It was short. The goal was to put Thunder Rosa over. I thought Steelz got a little bit of shine. I think she's actually really good. She was another one that ROH had a look at, but she opted not to sign with them. She had a title shot against Angelina Love at the Toronto show, and so she's another one from that the Damian Adams school where like Deonna Purrazzo and a bunch of people came from. So she has a good background, has a lot of potential. I think it'll be interesting to see if they use her more going forward because they definitely need to mix in some more women going forward.
I mean, they have a better roster than ROH's Women of Honor at this point, just with Rosa, Allison Kay, even Melina,
Marty Bell,
Ashley Vox, Marty Bell. Yeah, we can name more people on the NWA women's roster than on the ROH women's roster.
That's kind of sad when you put it that way, but yeah, you're right. And that's going to be funnier when you listen to the later part of the show, actually. So post-match, Thunder Rosa attacked. Ashley Vox tried to make the save. Thunder Rosa cut her off, hit her with a shoulder breaker, and put her in some kind of arm submission and injured her, which will play into the show later on. Got Aaron Stevens and Ricky Stark's video package, which led to Aaron Stevens arriving wearing a karate gi. He was with the question mark. They did the official Mongrovian flag ceremony, including noted and accomplished a cappella artist, the question mark, singing the Mongrovian national anthem. And the gentleman has a beautiful bass voice, Jeremy.
He does. I cannot do the Mongrovian national anthem justice because it was so well done, and only the question mark can do it. But I like this little segment here. Aaron Stevens is fine in this role, and the question mark is over with this audience.
It's like the most over guy in the company. It's insane.
It does feel like that, yes.
So, and the reason that Stevens was wearing the gi, as commentary mentioned, he is now apparently a third-degree Mongrovian black belt under his sensei, the question mark.
Yeah, he got his black belt in like 3 weeks.
I know. The question mark must be an awesome sensei, is all I have to say.
Clearly.
So our next match was the question mark defeating Trevor Murdoch in 6 minutes via pin. Again, I thought this was another solid, fun little match. The question mark is, again, I don't know if it's irony or what it is. He's over. The crowd loves the guy. Trevor Murdoch made the mistake of going after the Mongrovian flag during the match, and he ate the Mongrovian spike for the pinfall for his trouble. So that was a definite mistake for Mr. Trevor Murdoch here.
Yeah, I think he got hit with a Mongrovian spike early in the match, and Murdoch kicked out. So I didn't like that it kind of took two to put Murdoch away. I think he should have just only beat him with one. But otherwise, it was a fine little match. The right guy won, and the question mark is over, brother.
Yeah. And again, I'm not sure what you're going to do with the question mark exactly moving forward, but I mean, hey, the guy's over, he's winning matches, and he's not like winning matches against like Nick Aldis yet or anything, but like, it's at least fun, you know what I mean? And like, some people are going to bitch about, oh, it's a fat guy in a mask or some bullshit, but I mean, it's at least fun, and how many times do we talk about companies that don't play to their audience when somebody's over? So at least they're playing into the audience, and you know, this was an inoffensive, fun little match. It went 6 minutes. I have no problem with it.
Yeah, I didn't have an issue with it either. And the question mark is, I mean, they should put the title on him. He should be beating Nick Aldis.
Well, that's going to be problematic because there's some other people we're going to talk about later on. Next up was our NWA Tag Team Championship match, the Rock and Roll Express with Homicide and Eddie Kingston in their corner versus the Wild Cards with the Dawsons in their corner. These gentlemen were all at ringside so that they could brawl late at the match and kind of lead to a distraction later on. The Rock and Roll Express actually retained the championships at 5-15 via pin. Jeremy, your thoughts?
Surprising that the Rock and Roll Express won, because it seemed like they were just going to kind of be feel-good moment, give them a title win, then get the titles back on the Wild Cards as soon as possible, and this would have obviously been the time to do it. But NWA does have two nights of TV tapings in the next 2 nights, so maybe the Rock and Roll Express will lose the titles on one of these nights on the TV tapings. Who knows? I mean, I'm fine with the Rock and Roll Express being the champions. They're over with that audience, and the tag team division in the NWA is not like great. Like, the Dawsons are not super established. I like Homicide and Kingston. I do think they should certainly be the champions, and maybe they will end up winning at the power tapings. The match itself was like 5 minutes long. It's tough to do a ton at 5 minutes, but the crowd does like Rock and Roll Express, and they can do different stuff.
I love that the fact that it took 4 matches into this card to get anything resembling a high spot, which was Ricky Morton doing a suicide dive and a fucking destroyer.
Yeah, I mean, Ricky Morton just does the destroyer now. It's like his fucking move. I didn't like, they missed the double drop kick. That was not great by production. That they pretty much missed that spot. Like, you definitely gotta hit that mark.
Yeah, I think they're afraid to shoot it dead on because Robert Gibson is like hitting guys' knees these days is part of the problem. But I do agree with you. You kind of gotta shoot it even though it doesn't look that great because it's the Rock and Roll Express double drop kick.
I mean, they missed, like, they showed the feet kind of hitting. So, like, if they're worried about that Robert Morton isn't getting up too well, like, they showed the worst part that they could possibly show, honestly.
Yeah, odd production choice for sure. So after this match, they announced that the NWA is returning to pay-per-view on January 24th already. So before we get into the next part, Jeremy, are they coming back to pay-per-view too soon, or what are you feeling about this?
It feels like it. I mean, January 24th is like 5 weeks away, 6 weeks away. I mean, they've got television, but I wonder how much of that is, I mean, spoiler alert, Marty Scurll shows up at the end, and they're going to do that match, I assume, with all this on the pay-per-view. And I we don't know the status of Marty's contract, so I'm wondering how much of it is they want to get that pay-per-view match out there immediately, and because they might not have Marty for too long, they've got to almost rush this pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's a very sound theory. That's a Friday night pay-per-view, by the way.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that they went Friday night because that's Royal Rumble weekend with when Worlds Collide, and
Yeah, there's also, I mean, they went up against a UFC show tonight, but there's also a UFC show on Saturday night as well. So that's a pretty loaded weekend with Worlds Collide and yeah, Royal Rumble on Sunday. So Friday night, I guess, makes sense from that standpoint. Again, I like that's my theory is that I don't know how long Marty's sticking around. They clearly want to do that match as quick as possible, and you've got to do like if he's not staying around for long, you got to do it almost immediately.
Yeah. So if that's the case, it does make sense. It's going to be interesting to see what Marty's status is going forward. Is he just making a stop off before he goes somewhere else? Is he just planning on working the big indie platter with maybe some Japan mixed in? So I guess we'll find out soon. But obviously,
we'll talk more about it at the very end.
Yeah.
Speculate on the future of Marty Scurll.
And they also announced that the NWA TV title is returning. And it's returning in all of its silver and red glory, which I love. It's one of my favorite belts of all time.
It looks really nice. I like this title. So yeah, and I'm a fan of the TV title. I do worry that like now they've got like 2 mid-card titles, and like their talent roster isn't like, that deep to really support 2 mid-card titles.
Yeah. But then again, too, I mean, they are taping after this pay-per-view. We may have a bunch of new people coming in. I mean, I share the same concerns. It feels like a little much right now, but hopefully there are plans here. Hopefully they have guys that are coming in, and we're going to start fattening up this roster a little bit. Hopefully with quality people and not just randos.
Yeah, that's true. They do have the tapings. I assume some people will debut. Who knows what their status is going to be when they do debut, because I don't know how NWA contracts work. But regardless, 2 mid-card titles, like you only have an hour show as well. It seems like a lot to. I guess they could do more than an hour. Like they're on YouTube. I don't know. I feel like they can just kind of get away with what they want depending on how much they want to do. But another mid-card title, it's gonna kind of crowded, and we'll see how they handle it.
Yeah. Next up, we had an Eli Drake promo who talked about tonight's main event, said it didn't matter who wins because he wants a title shot. He's the hottest thing going today, the man that shines in this company. Ken Anderson arrived and beat his ass, wrapped the chair around his neck, posted him, fought off officials, and then hit a mic check onto the chair to stand tall. So it looks like this feud will continue.
Yeah, don't need to continue this feud, but it was a fine post-match angle.
Yeah, I thought the angle came off. Yeah, the angle came off well, but I'm not excited about another match. I mean, maybe it's part of the TV title tournament or something. We'll see. But yeah, I wasn't exactly thrilled about that.
Yeah.
So, next up, tag team action. Melina and Marty Bell were going to face Allison Kay because Ashley Vox was taken out, but it was revealed that ODB was going to be her partner. ODB playing Lex Luger tonight after appearing on Impact.
A goat, ODB. I love ODB. And so I was happy to see her in this match show up. Unfortunately, the match sucked.
Yeah, ODB and Allison Kay won at 7:15 via pin. It was really rough. Sloppy exchanges, really disjointing, just basically sloppy all throughout. And the first thing I felt on the show that was like a big miss that I didn't enjoy.
Yeah, just about everything in this match was rough looking. Melina was rough looking. Marty Bell, ODB, Allison Kay, like none of them looked. None of them came out of this match looking good. Like ODB, the BAM, like that looked bad at the end. Just not a lot of good in this match, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's a shame. I think we can easily say worst thing on the show.
Yeah.
Okay. We got a Nick Aldis, James Storm video package to set up the main event, and then we moved on to the co-main event, which was for the NWA National Championship, Jeremy. Aaron Stevens defeated Colt Cabana and Ricky Starks 12.5 minutes via pin. First thing we should talk about is it was revealed today, Colt Cabana officially done with Ring of Honor.
Yeah, so I guess he's gonna be sticking around NWA for a while. I mean, we talked about it a little bit last night after the Cabana and Alex Shelley match, which people can hear later. That Cabana is certainly a guy like that has options. Like he's done New Japan. I don't know if he'll ever go back to WWE, but like he would be great in NXT if he wanted to do that. You know, he's got the NWA thing. I guess he's done with ROH now. AEW, he's got a lot of ties there. Like whatever Cabana wants to do, he can certainly do because he's a guy that can get over anywhere with any style. And I mean, people like his mind for the business is second to none when it comes like, you know, mini podcasts would not exist without Colt Cabana. Documentary style series like the On the Road stuff that he was doing with Daniel Bryan and stuff when Bryan was getting signed by WWE, and the merchandising stuff that he's done. Like Cabana is like he's a visionary in this sport, and
he was a big trendsetter for a lot of guys. And there's a lot of guys that'll tell you, like guys like Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens, you know, who will tell you that they were thinking about quitting the business until they talked with Colt Cabana and got into merchandising and stuff. And not just the merchandising aspect, but you look at PWTs that came out of Colt and the fact that, you know, you can invent a catchphrase on a Friday night and then you're fucking selling a shirt on Saturday.
Yeah.
Because of that. So it's like a lot of guys were able to monetize beyond the basic 8x10s and small things with, you know, pro wrestling tees and stuff like that, and that goes back to Colt. And as you mentioned, the podcast stuff, and the Young Bucks have put him over countless times for being like the guy that led them to get into all the merchandising that they've done over the years and that they made a lot of money off of. And again, and we do talk about this a little bit later, but don't cry for Colt Cabana. He got out of ROH. Probably a smart move. He probably saw the writing on the wall. I'll definitely miss him because I thought he was really good on commentary. But the fact is, the dude is going to have his choice of places to work. He always does like a month in August working in Edinburgh. He does other UK dates. He's had New Japan work. He's probably going to... I'd imagine he ends up working a lot of New Japan USA for these shows due to just coming off the tag league. AEW definitely always a chance. I mean, who knows? Impact's under new management. I mean, I'm pretty much sure that he can go wherever he wants if there's an offer there. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. Like I'm happy that Colt Cabana got out of ROH. That place is it is what it is right now, and it's not good. Yeah, and Cabana, he's a guy that can literally go anywhere, get himself over anywhere, and he will have plenty of offers. New Japan USA is a good call. They're very under the radar because we don't know much about them, but that is certainly a place that could use a guy like Colt Cabana.
Yeah, I definitely think he'll probably work a good bit of dates there, so wouldn't be surprised. So Aaron Stevens won the title, Jeremy. What did you think of the title change and the match overall?
I wanted Ricky Starks to win, so I didn't. The title changes, whatever. As I said earlier, like I do think Aaron Stevens is doing very well in this gimmick. The match was good because it was limited to mainly Cabana and Starks, as Stevens just kind of hid behind a Christmas tree the entire time. So,
well, the best part is like we talked about that is like it was really good because it plays into his gimmick really well. He was hiding behind a Christmas tree. And then the best part about it is, and wrestlers notice, one of the big criticisms from reviewers in a triple threat match is the term taking a nap on the floor. And there was a part where he was like under a fucking curtain pretending to nap. I died.
Yeah, he played exactly how you would kind of want him to play, and it showed just also how good Starks is, because we haven't seen Starks like shine in longer matches like this, and he went out there with Cabana, and it shows how good Cabana is as well. And they had a strong little one-on-one match for the majority of the time. So overall, like it was It was good because they played to everybody's strengths very well, and then they did the steal the championship win, which is your favorite finish.
Yeah, exactly. The finish came. Colt hit the Superman pin on Ricky Starks, but the question mark jacked him with the fucking Mongrovian spike, allowing Stevens to steal the title. So, at least that came off well, and obviously the question mark, everybody... The best part is he fucks Colt out of the title, and everybody still loves the question mark.
Yeah, the ending where they're both posing on the turnbuckle and booing Stevens and cheering for question mark. Dude's over, I'm telling you, put him over all this.
And I guess, we joked about what do you do with the question mark next. I think you could eventually do the turn on Aaron Stevens.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it'd be over. I thought the match was really good. I was entertained. I thought everybody played their roles very well. And to back up what you said, I think Ricky Starks really shined here as a future star for the company. Like him a lot.
Definitely. And they need more guys like Ricky Starks because, I mean, no offense, a lot of their roster is kind of retread stuff. And, I mean, the guys are doing well in their roles, but you got to get some guys if you're going to play a long-term game here.
I agree. Next up, we had an interview with the wholesome Timothy Storm, who is going to be one of the refs in the main event. He said that he shares the love and excitement that people have. It's an honor and privilege to be involved in this pay-per-view. He's never done this referee thing before, but he's going to do it to the best of his abilities. He put over the competitors in the main event and said the bottom line is he's here to represent the NWA. What a wholesome gentleman.
I like Tim Storm. It's a good promo.
He is. He's so good. And the best part is this was so genuinely wholesome babyface. Everybody was waiting for that heel turn.
Yeah.
I saw
like
it
that.
on Twitter. Everybody's like, oh, Tim Storm's going to fuck Aldis.
Well, we don't know what they did after the show.
Oh, that's their own private business, Jeremy. I don't question what Tim Storm does. So we went on to the main event, which was a 2 out of 3 falls match for the NWA World Title. Champion Nick Aldis defending against James Storm. Brian Hebner refereeing Fall 1. Tim Storm refereeing Fall 2. And if we went to Fall 3, it was going to be determined by a coin flip to see which of the two refs will take it over. This was also a revenge match, as Nick Aldis was looking for revenge when James Storm tried to kill Mickie James by throwing her in front of a train in TNA.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, everybody forgets about that.
Everybody forgets a lot about what TNA did.
Yeah. They did the quick Arena Mexico Fall 1 in 2 minutes and 20 seconds when Camille arrived, who was allegedly having the night off, and Aldis told her to go away. That led to a James Storm super kick, and he went up 1-0 early on.
Super kick wins a match.
That's right. He must have been talking to Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, very excited to see the return of the super kick as a finisher.
That's right. That led to Fall 2. They brawled on the floor for a while. James Storm got whipped into the Christmas tree. Stu Bennett, who was really fun on commentary all night,
he was good.
The Mongrovian spruce was ruined.
Stu Bennett was good. We probably mentioned him in our wrap up, but he did a really good job on this show.
Yeah, really enjoyable. So they had a good Fall 2, some brawling and stuff. James Storm teased using a chair. Tim Storm took it. They teased some near falls, and then Nick Aldis scored the win with the small package to even things up at just over 11 minutes. Good
Fall 2. Good Fall 2. The small package, a little rough looking crowd. Even was like, oh, what just kind of happened there? But it played into Nick Aldis has used the small package before to sneak out little victories. So overall, it worked.
Yeah, used it on Tim Storm and Cody.
Yeah.
So they brawled, they did the coin flip, and Brian Hebner, who is James Storm's personally picked official, was selected to officiate the final fall. So they picked up the pace here in the third fall, had some really good near falls. They did the classic figure 4 spot because it's an NWA title match. We had a ref bump down the stretch, which led to Tim Storm having to take over. And, of course, everybody, again, I think, waiting for Tim Storm to kind of fuck over Aldis. But Tim Storm is a lovely gentleman, and he would not do that. So
Tim Storm has morals.
That's right. Storm hit a super kick, sent Aldis to the corner. He went to attack him with a backstabber, and that led to Aldis exposing the turnbuckle as he was ripped out of the corner. Storm got sent into the buckle, knocked out, and the Cloverleaf finished it. So Nick Aldis ended up retaining the championship, 21-50 via pin, 2 falls to 1. I thought overall, it was nothing blow away. I thought it was a really good match. I thought they told a good story. They were really teasing that Aldis was going to get screwed. They didn't completely overbook it. The Camille thing was early. The one ref bump probably could have done without, but again, you're doing that to bring Tim Storm and then to tease the screw job. And so I think that played well. And the thing with the finish is James Storm didn't quit. The referee stopped the match. He can claim conspiracy again because the buckle was exposed and that he only lost when Aldis' man called it off. So you can easily book a rematch coming out of this that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I was very worried that the match was going to go really long, especially when they got in the ring at like just before 8, because we didn't know how long this pay-per-view was going to be. We just knew that it started early, which was great. But yeah, so when they got in the ring, I was like, oh my God, they're about to go an hour.
I feared that a little too.
And then the first fall happened and the second fall happened. And I'm just like, oh my God, this last fall is about to be like 40 minutes or something. So I'm glad that like it was a timely, like 2 out of 3 falls match. It certainly didn't, they could have gone longer. I'm glad they didn't because I don't think it needed it. But overall, good match. I like the finish because as you said, Aldis, it looked like fear that he could kind of get screwed over a little bit, and he didn't. But James Storm can claim he got screwed over because of the exposed turnbuckle. They're kind of shades of graying Aldis right now, which I'm not like. I'm not too down on. It's a weird thing because I think for your world champion, you almost want him to have a defined like heel babyface tendency, and there's none of that with all this right now. There's he comes across a little bit as a babyface when he's like he's cutting the promos of like we're doing this for the crowd and blah 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 blah, but then he also like stuff like this he comes off as a heel. Stuff like the Camille stuff, not letting her talk, comes off a little bit heelish. So that's I don't know if it's a complaint. It's just an observation of what they're doing with all this, and maybe it's working for some people. It's just comes across a little odd to me.
Yeah, it's kind of middle ground for me. I like that he kind of comes off as a disingenuous babyface almost, because as you said, a lot of his promo stuff he's totally babyface and everything up. But then you have that underlying Camille story, and then you have like the finish of this match. So, I would like a little more definition. I don't think it's a huge detriment, but again, I kind of like things a little more clearly defined. But the thing is, I think we can agree he is really good at it, though.
Yeah, he plays it well. I think he's great in this role, and I think that's why they do stick with him as the champion, because he does carry himself so well and he can kind of fill multiple roles and like he looks like a champion. It's just a thing of, I don't know if it's a turnoff for the rest of the audience, especially like the NWA for the most part. I mean, you're more familiar with it than I am, but they had very defined, heels and baby faces. And so the fact that all this isn't is just that's why it comes off odd to me.
Yeah, and I agree with that. So Aldis retains the title. He gets a post-match promo, talks about that normally he would say that this is his ring, but it's the NWA's ring, but this is his championship, and that's how he tells the world who he is. And after tonight, no man alive can take this championship from him, Jeremy. And then the lights went out. And it was not Shawn Spears appearing.
Thank fucking God.
Marty Scurll arrived.
Yeah.
Nick Aldis' old buddy. And yes, Marty is now in the NWA. We don't know for how long, but Marty is here. He had a face-off with Aldis. Aldis powdered. And then my feed froze and never came back.
Yeah, Aldis went away, and
So
they went dark. Yeah, they went dark, but then it came back, and Skrull was gonna cut a promo with Galley, and it froze as Skrull was about to talk, and then it came back as Skrull was done and getting into the ring. So either this was like a fantastic little mishap where NWA can be like, oh, see what Marty Scurll has to say on Tuesday's episode of Power or whatever. You know, they can put this on YouTube, however, wherever they want to air this, because I would assume they had the footage somehow. Or this was a terrible mishap and everyone just missed this Marty Scurll promo. But I would assume that this gets released somehow and probably benefits the NWA with how they can boost it and their YouTube views as well.
Yeah, and obviously the Marty thing is potentially really big.
Yeah, so when, all this was like, no one can beat me, all right, it was pretty obvious someone was coming out because you don't do that. And then when the lights went down, it was a dead giveaway that someone was coming out. The weird thing was like Marty's music hits and like everyone knows it's Marty, but Bennett and Galley are like, what's going on? Who's coming out? Like, y'all, maybe they don't watch other shows. I don't know. But yeah, Marty's there, which is great because Marty is awesome. Got a big reaction. He was used better in 5 seconds by the NWA than he's been used all year by ROH. And when we've discussed Marty a lot this year because of everything that's going on in ROH. And one of the things one of us mentioned was that the NWA was a possibility because we don't know Marty Scurll's mindset. He can go to AEW, can be with his elite friends, but he's always going to be put in a certain position because as over as he is, like, he's not the Bucks, he's not Cody, he's not Kenny, he's not Jericho, he's not those guys. He could stay in ROH and be kind of a bigger fish in a smaller pond. And we brought up NWA because he can, again, be a huge fish in a small pond there. I mean, Marty he's there. He was one of the most over guys on this show, maybe the most over guy besides question mark. And moving forward, he would continue to be one of the most over guys. So if he wants to, be a world champion and just have the spotlight on him and still be given a lot of the freedoms that he would have elsewhere, like the NWA is a place that makes sense for him. I don't know if this is his forever home. My guess is it's not. NWA can still do independent bookings and stuff like that. You can still take independent bookings through them. So it's very possible that, as I mentioned earlier, he's there till January. They do the match with Aldis in January, and then we kind of go on from there. But it was definitely a surprise because all the talk was ROH and AEW, and here he is on this NWA show.
Yeah, obviously, people were talking, there was a chance because ROH was trying to throw more money at him. There was always the AEW thing for the obvious reasons you mentioned. And there was WWE interest. And of course, Marty would have personal reasons to go to NXT because of Deonna being there.
They're not together anymore.
Oh, they're not now? Oh, fuck. I missed that. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that's why NXT almost got... I think that's why talks kind of deaded with NXT.
Oh, okay.
Like you didn't hear much from them after a little while because
I don't pay attention to the gossip. You're supposed to keep me updated on this.
Oh, well, that's why I just corrected you right there.
Yeah, but I should have known beforehand. Come on, man. You're supposed to be sharing.
I actually didn't know until a few weeks ago. But
all right. Well, still, but there was WWE interest to put that out there. But so this could be interesting. This could be Marty just making some, I guess, for lack of a better term, some per-date money before he locks into his next move and helping out his friend, because him and Nick Aldis are really good friends in real life. He could have signed a short-term deal to make him exclusive to TV, which would be really big for the NWA, because even if it's 6 months, if you lock Marty in, you're locking Marty in, which is really good for them, and you could possibly do a title run and a couple pay-per-views out of him and make some money, hopefully.
No, what are you talking about? You can't put the title on this guy. He's going to leave.
Exactly. And then, of course, in theory, and I don't know how viable this is, he may get, maybe he decided that this is what he wants to do for a little bit more than 6 months. And maybe he signed a year deal or something, and he's on one of the alleged bigger money deals like a Nick Aldis, Eli Drake, and James Storm. There's a lot of possibilities, actually. And again, Marty's a guy like Colt Cabana that has a lot of irons in the fire, that he could do a lot of things, because Marty could definitely go to AEW with his friends. I'm sure he could go to NXT. He could have stayed with Ring of Honor. He has this now. I'm sure he could definitely work a lot of New Japan and New Japan USA if he wanted. So, there's a lot of options for Marty Scurll, and it's good to be Marty right now. This is a hot time for people to make money and sign good deals,
Yeah, there's plenty of companies out there. There's plenty of companies throwing around money. I don't know if some of these companies do have like buyer's remorse on stuff, but Scurll has proven that if you utilize him correctly, he can draw money for you. One company just didn't understand that, and so they weren't drawing any money. The NWA seems much smarter than that. Obviously, AEW is much smarter than that. I don't really want him to stay in ROH just because I don't see an upside for him there, especially after this last year. But for Marty, it's a good deal. However he got it, I'm sure he knows what he's doing, and I'm sure he's going to get the most out of this that he can.
I agree. So, overall thoughts on the show, Jeremy. What are you thinking? What did you think it was good, average, bad? What are you thinking?
I like this. I like the show. One, I like that it was 2.5 hours and it was over by 8:30. I can appreciate that. Two, like there was no blowaway matches. I think Aldis and Storm was the best match. Cabana, the triple threat match was very good as well. But like, I wouldn't say either of those matches, like they weren't even on the level of the stuff we saw in the ROH pay-per-view with not the main event, the 2 tag team matches and Dragon Lee and Shane Taylor. Like none of these matches were on the level of those 3 matches, but they were still good matches. And I think like this is the difference is, and I guess the ROH portion will be airing after this, but in chronological order, the ROH pay-per-view was first, and spoiler alert, we're going to talk about how the ROH pay-per-view ended with a complete dud and just a moment that just left a sour taste in your mouth. This pay-per-view ended with a good match and a moment that got you excited because Scurll showed up and confronted Aldis, and it felt like a big deal. So even though this pay-per-view didn't have the match quality that ROH may have had, like when the pay-per-view ended, I didn't feel like I like wasted my time and felt like, oh my God, like that's how they closed this big show. Like this felt like a very strong show overall because the closer was so good.
Yeah, I thought that this was a strong pay-per-view from the company, and I thought that they really kind of stayed true to the formula that they've laid out with Power. They delivered strong to very good wrestling throughout the show. We only had the one bad match. And that's okay. You're occasionally going to have that. I think they're doing a good job continuing to build Thunder Rosa, because I think they're going to build her up to face Allison Kay. James Storm has a claim to a rematch. You're still trying to build Eli Drake up. Marty Scurll's now here, and again, we don't know for how long, but I do like them revisiting the feud with Aldis a lot. I thought it was fun. It was enjoyable. Like you said, it had a good ending, and I just thought that it was a consistently strong show. They were trying to tell stories, and the other thing too is you have to judge the product on what the product is. WWE claims to be the best wrestling company in the world. And if they put on something bad, like, it's bad. New Japan sets a really high bar, so if they end up disappointing in the things that they traditionally deliver in, then it's not as good a show as it should be. ROH used to be a beacon for great matches and storytelling, and it's none of that now. The NWA is a little more minimalist. They're relying on good basic wrestling, good basic stories, and I thought that largely carried throughout the evening. And so I thought it was a good show that I enjoyed. And again, I love the 2.5 hour runtime, because not every fucking show, and we say this a lot, and it goes for every company, we don't always need 4 and 5 hour shows. You don't have to do it.
No, definitely not. And, they got two. So back to the Skrull thing right quickly. They got two tapings of Power on Sunday and Monday. Skrull is booked and advertised for Final Battle Fallout on Sunday. So it'll be interesting to see how that whole ordeal is handled. I mean, it's Philadelphia to Atlanta, not a long flight at all. I don't know if Corgan's got a private jet, right? He's got the Smashing Pumpkins private jet. Maybe he can make that happen. But it'll be. We'll see what happens with the night one of the Power tapings, because Skrull is advertised for Final Battle Fallout.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what it is, and I'm interested to see if we get any kind of details on his deal and overall status. Is it short term? Is it longer term? What do we know? And but yeah, definitely an interesting time for a couple guys coming out of ROH, and Colt Cabana and Marty Scurll. Again, two guys that are going to have a big platter of choices. They're going to be able to do pretty much whatever they want. And again, as we're heading into 2020, Jeremy, the wrestling is continuing to be a really fascinating and fun place.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. And I mean, it's busy for us. I wish that it was bigger overall, because as we've seen with the kind of the NXT and AEW ratings, like, things are kind of just at a stagnant point and falling everywhere. But overall, there's certainly not a lack of quantity or quality.
Exactly. So it's definitely a fun time. So that's going to wrap up our NWA Into the Fire pay-per-view coverage. Thank you, guys. And in our next segment, we are going to talk about WWE TLC 2019. All right, we are back, and it's time to talk WWE TLC 2019, Jeremy. Again, we're a little out of order tonight, but we have finally finished up our weekend.
It has been a long weekend, mostly mediocre. Let's be honest. I don't want to say it's been like a great weekend. There's been a lot of shows, and it's been a lot of mediocre stuff.
I'm glad you survived the UFC show that went till like 8 a.m. this morning. So
shit, that was the best part of the weekend, though. That Colby Covington Kamaru Usman fight fucking ruled, and it's great seeing Colby Covington's MAGA ass get his jaw broken and shit. So,
well, I know that it was a great show. I heard that, but I mean, it's just that it was like 18 hours long. So
yeah, but I'll take a 18-hour long show as long as the final stuff delivers. And I mean, that final fight was awesome. It's better than the TLC show and the final match on this one.
Yeah,
or the ROH show and the final match on that one.
Yeah, so let's get into TLC 2019. Started off on the pre-show with Humberto Carrillo defeating Andrade once again, 12:30 via pin, Jeremy. I thought this was a very good pre-show match, actually, because they got some time. They work really well together, and thought they delivered. And they also continued teasing the split between Zelina and Andrade, which I hope they don't do, because they're so good together.
It would be stupid to split these two, which means they're probably going to end up doing it. The match was good. My issue is it almost felt no win for WWE, because everyone loves Andrade and they see a lot of potential in him. And I mean, I feel like he's been on the main roster forever and they've done like nothing with him. And so either Humberto was going to win and people are going to be like, all right, Andrade is just still around kind of doing nothing, or Andrade was going to win and people are going to be like, well, you 50-50 booked that. So yeah, they were kind of in a no-win position with that. And Humberto, like, good look, good wrestler. Who the fuck is this guy? What is, where did he come from? What is his story? I don't know anything about him other than he just showed up and like he has some good matches and he has a good look, but I don't know anything about this guy.
Yeah, and that's a shame, because they actually did on 205 Live, which they should have aired on Raw when he debuted, some really good like background personality profile videos on him, like a 2 or 3 part thing. They were really good, and I wish they would show those on Raw, because like you said, yeah, I don't think a lot of people get exactly who he is and why they should care at this point.
Hey, if they did those videos, great. But again, like you've got to air that to your largest audience. It's the same thing we complain about when it comes to AEW. It's cool that you're going to put this stuff on Dark and Being the Elite and online. That's not where your largest audience is. 205 is not a large audience. I don't think anybody watches the show but you. So you've got to put this stuff on Raw so more people care about this stuff.
I agree completely, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, they already have them in the can. I mean, you could edit them if he's talking about the Cruiserweight title or whatever, just hit all the background stuff so people knows who the hell the guy is.
Yeah.
So that's kind of disappointing, especially, like I said, because they have them. I mean, just run the damn videos. You have, like, the greatest video editing production department in the world. So we move on to the pay-per-view opener. Ladder match for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. It was made a ladder match for reasons. No real explanation. 3 days build on the ladder match. Champions The New Day ended up defeating the Revival 1910, not via pin. Your thoughts, sir?
Really good match. It's tough to have a ladder match in 2019 because we've seen a lot of everything. And this was the same case here. We've seen a lot of these spots, but they hit them fairly well. There were some scary spots where it's like, ooh, but they do a good job like gimmicking the ladder and protecting themselves nowadays. But overall, a good match that didn't go too long. Crowd was into it. I'm not surprised that New Day won. I kind of figured they would because they like having the titles on New Day. And I don't think they know what they're doing with the Revival anyway. So overall, I enjoyed this match. Not the best ladder match ever, but still a good ladder match.
Yeah, I thought it was very good. I thought it was a strong way to open the pay-per-view. As you kind of mentioned, they didn't get too crazy, but I thought they kept a nice pace. They kept the action flowing really well. They didn't lumber it down by building 800 contraptions. I was a little surprised with no title change, but you make a good point on why they're keeping it on New Day. And while not a high-level crazy ladder match, I thought that they delivered in the spot given to them, so no complaints from me. Pay-per-view off to a good start, Jeremy.
Yes.
We then went to, and I include the pre-show match in that too, because I really enjoyed that. I got a quick...
Did you see Lana and Charlie on the pre-show? That was the best fucking thing on this whole show.
I ignore all the talking on the pre-show. It generally angers me.
How dare you? Lana and Charlie's going to be the feud of 2020. Just wait.
You mean not Renee Young?
Not Renee.
I did see that part. I'm not going to lie.
And the Revival cutting promos on Harlem Heat, which I don't know if they're going to deliver on that match. I don't know how good it would be in 2020, but I'm fine if the Revival are just basically trying to shoot their own angle here to get something on TV. Problem is, if they try to shoot their own angle with this, they're just going to get embarrassed by Harlem Heat.
It's like if they actually did that match, I would have a little bit of faith in Booker still, even like this late after he's not been wrestling a lot, but like, no offense, Stevie Ray was like never good. So, yeah.
Stevie Ray gonna come in there and shoot on everybody. Hit him with the slapjack. Don't doubt the man, Stevie Ray.
Yeah, so Kayla interviewed King Corbin. He said he was not worried about his match tonight because he has Reigns exactly where he wants him, and he'll beat the big dog, and he'll become his master. So, that led to Aleister Black versus Buddy Murphy. Aleister Black won 13:45 via pin. I love this. Thought it was great. I told you in the preview, give them 12 to 15 minutes and they'll deliver, and they did. I thought both guys were really great here. They delivered a really good, hard-hitting style that nobody else on the show was going to work, which really made it stick out to me. Greatly enjoyed this. Thought it was the best match on the show.
Yeah, great match. The crowd didn't quite know how to react to it early, I don't think. And because Aleister Black has cut the same promo for like 3 months now, and Buddy Murphy, like, he was hot with the Bryan stuff, and then he just kind of fell off, and then he beat a bunch of guys on Raw, but no one really seemed to care about the guys that he beat. But by the end of it, they worked the crowd into a frenzy. I think the blood helped. It was clearly wasn't planned. Aleister Black fucking up his nose, but it helped the match, gave it an extra sense of urgency. And so every time there was a face strike, which there was plenty of them, it seemed a little bit more deadly because of that. And overall, just great stuff from these two.
Yeah, you have to love that we got accidental juice in the Andrade match and this one, but not in like any of the latter matches.
Yeah.
So we got a quick interview with Rusev. Talked about how Lashley can have Lana, and he'll prove he's back tonight. Spoiler: he didn't. We got highlights of the AOP beating down Owens on Raw, and the reveal of Darth Rollins as the new Overlord. Then we had random, I guess, contest-winning fans eating KFC directly at ringside.
Yeah, you knew that shit was going to come into play.
Viking Raiders issued their open challenge. The Good Brothers accepted, as we predicted. The Viking Raiders won at 8, or they didn't win. They went to a double countout, at 8:40.
What was the point of, like an open challenge? The OC beat them in Saudi. Like, they had a claim to a title shot. I just don't understand why you've got to do an open challenge here. Like, just book the match, say they have a claim because they beat him in Saudi, and go from there.
Well, sadly, Jeremy, WWE didn't put that much thought into the process. And that is the fact of the matter, is that they did have a legit claim to a tag title match. And the Good Brothers even mentioned that they handed them their first loss. It's right there. They could have set it up on Raw, booked the match, actually built to it, but they didn't. The match was okay while it lasted. The finish was completely flat. The feud will continue. But in all honesty, this was just an infomercial for KFC, disguised as a tag team title match.
Yeah, pretty much.
And they brawled post-match, and Carl Anderson got put through the KFC table and probably enjoyed some delicious mashed potatoes and gravy.
I mean, KFC's good. Jerry Lawler definitely wanted some, so.
Jerry Lawler was more excited for the KFC than he was the fucking match.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I can't blame him, but there wasn't much reason to care about this match, honestly. I like both guys. I mean, the Viking Raiders were actually over because they were in Minnesota, so they were doing the Skull chant. And that's probably like the most over the Viking Raiders will ever be.
Yeah, so it kind of existed, and that started the downturn of this show. This is when we started going off the cliff. I was really enjoying this show until the tag match. I will say that.
It was a good show up until that point, and then they did the bullshit finish in the tag match and then the crowd just didn't care about anything afterwards. So maybe don't do these bullshit finishes.
Yeah. So Miz was interviewed, said Monroe is fine and safe. He moved his family to an undisclosed location for safety. This is the most important and personal match of his life. He's fighting to protect his family and will do anything to do that as he faces Bray Wyatt later on this evening. TLC match, Jeremy. King Corbin and Roman Reigns. King Corbin defeated Roman Reigns 22 minutes, 20 seconds via pin. Your thoughts first, sir.
It was a match. It didn't seem like they were even doing the TLC stuff early because they just weren't doing any TLC stuff. They were just having a wrestling match. And it's like, okay, you can use like tables, ladders, and chairs, right? And they just didn't. And then it kept going. I don't think they used the ladder at all, honestly. And, we had a bunch of interference because of course we did. Roman Reigns has no fucking friends, so sucks to be that guy. And then King Corbin won, which, like, I don't even hate King Corbin winning, even though it seems like if you're going to set up Roman for his big WrestleMania run, you should have just had him win here. But I assume he gets his revenge at some point. Like, maybe Roman wins the Rumble, and then the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, they do this because Corbin can claim he had a victory over him, and then so for Roman's title shot, and then you go from there. So, like, I don't hate Corbin winning. The match just wasn't very good.
I don't hate Corbin winning. I hate that it was a bad match that did not need to be a TLC match. I said that in the preview.
Yeah.
There's no reason for this to be a TLC match other than it was the TLC pay-per-view. Could have easily made this a no disqualification match or some bullshit. It wasn't good. It was quite bad, actually. They should have... Go ahead.
They should have just made this the chairs match. They didn't have a fucking chairs match on this show.
Sure. Why not? Corbin actually had a good chairs match with Kalisto.
Yeah, there you go.
So there you go. But, I mean, it wasn't good, and like I said, it was quite bad. They didn't use the stip well at all. It was like a big walk-in brawl until 15 guys arrived to beat the shit out of Roman Reigns, and it felt like twice as long as it was. Like, it got near the end, and I'm like, please just end. Like, hit a move and pin him, please. Because I knew where they were going with it. And again, that's fine. The heel wins. He cheats. He's an asshole. There you go. But, I mean, at least have a good match to do it. And they didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't a good match at all. And the feud is going to continue, I guess. Where's the big dog mascot? Like, I feel like this is such an easy callback of you, and maybe it's coming, but I don't have much faith in this company. But this is such an easy callback of bring this dumb mascot out and have Reigns kill this thing, and then people get the big pop off of this because the whole feud is kind of stupidly set up anyway. But it's fun. I think it's dumb fun. Your mileage may vary, but bring this dumb mascot back out so Roman Reigns can neuter him.
Either that or you do the spot where Reigns or Corbin's going to have his big victory celebration and Reigns is in the dog suit and he beats his ass.
One way or another, like, you've got to pay off that stupid dog mascot thing. It feels so simple and something they would easily do back whenever, and for some reason they're not touching it here.
Yeah, and it's not something, again, like you said, it's something they've done back in the day. It's not new. We saw Kenny and Cody do it with the fucking the bear, the business bear and shit like that. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's nothing new, but like you said, it makes sense. And it's like people were just kind of waiting for you to pay it off. So we went to our non-title match next. Champion Bray Wyatt and all of his sweater-wearing glory versus The Miz. Let me get the good out of the way. The good was there were no red lights. The good was that The Miz was serious because he was out for revenge for his family.
Except he decided to pose and shit during his entrance.
Well, yeah,
but
I mean,
still gotta hit your poses.
Yeah, you gotta hit your mark, man. And I did like that they tried to differentiate from The Fiend and Bray Wyatt as like a dual personality thing. Unfortunately, while the match was short, Bray Wyatt won in 6 minutes. I did not think the match was any good. And it just kind of existed. Bray won. Good. It's over. And then afterwards was the best part of it was Bray was going to kill Miz with his giant hammer because the Fiend appeared on the screen. The lights went out and Daniel Bryan arrived in a hoodie, took him out with the Busaiku knee and showed off the short hair and beard after the Fiend ripped all of his hair off. The only thing missing was his sweet cape from ROH. And then he ran wild on the Fiend until the Fiend disappeared before he could kill him with the hammer. So that feud will continue. And Miz is just a fucking geek. I hope that dude has a better 2020.
Miz has always, he's been a geek this entire year. This year honestly kind of sucked for the Miz. And yeah, I guess he started off okay with the tag team title stuff, but once he turned babyface, he just turned into a complete joke. His offense didn't look good, and his offense has never been the best, but it looked really bad tonight. I didn't buy any of it. And then Bray, he didn't completely no sell it Fiend style, but it was clear that it wasn't working. And then Bray beat him in 2 moves, so Miz can't even fake that this is gonna be any type of a victory, even though it's a non-title match, and you could theoretically give the Miz a victory here. And it was all just to set up the post-match angle, and the post-match angle was good. Bray, the Fiend appearing on screen, and Bray. I do like Bray differentiating the characters. So I do like that aspect of it. I wish they would even go a little further with that, but what can you do? And Brian's return was good. You know, he looks like American Dragon again. The crowd are a bunch of bitches for not chanting, "You're gonna get your fucking head kicked in," because that chant rules. And yeah, the post match angle was good. The match wasn't good.
Unfortunately. The hits continue as we go to our tables match, Jeremy. Lashley defeated Rusev 13:35 via table. Unfortunately, the ending did not come off well. Not that it would have saved the match by any means, but Lana attacked Rusev. Lashley speared Rusev into a table. It did not break. So then he had to suplex him through it to finally get the win. The good news, I will say that there was some good. The good news is they hit each other really hard, which was mildly entertaining. The bad news is that it felt like it lasted an eternity. It was not laid out well at all. And honestly, it was really boring because this show had dove off a fucking cliff, Thelma and Louise style. And I think even worse than that, this fucking feud is going to continue.
This was the wrong spot for the table match. Like, tables matches, one, they can be tough to be good anyway, just because it's kind of like a last man standing match where, like, you can only tease stuff for so much, and like, you can do it, you can pull it off. The problem is it has to be in the right spot. So it's not in the right spot because we had the TLC match earlier and we just saw guys go through tables. So when the only gimmick in this match is just a guy going through table, it's like, all right, we've already seen this tonight. So why, like, I've seen a match with chairs and a bunch of interference, and there was no ladders, but theoretically there could have been ladders and kendo sticks, and dog food and all this shit. And, you know, so why am I just caring about some simple tables match? This should have been earlier on the show, because once you've seen a guy go through a table or multiple guys go through a tables, it's hard to just be like, all right, yay, more people going through tables. Like, it's cool, but if that's the only gimmick you're rocking with in the match, it feels like a letdown. And yeah, it wasn't good. The finish got screwed up because the table went into business for itself on the spear and didn't break. And they saved it well enough because he immediately suplexed them through the other table. So I don't even blame the guys on that. I don't think had the spear worked, I don't think this would have all of a sudden been like a classic match. It wasn't a good match.
Yeah, unfortunately not. And like I said, unfortunately as well, it's going to continue. Speaking of geeks, the Street Profits were backstage talking because they're not good enough to be on pay-per-view.
That scared the shit out of me. Their audio was so high.
Yeah, that was a little weird. So they were backstage, they were trying to talk, and then Reigns and Corbin and a bunch of other geeks were brawling backstage.
24/7 title match broke out backstage.
And that led to our main event of the evening, Jeremy. And all things considered, when you looked at the other matches leading to it, it looked like the right call. The women's tag team TLC match. The Kabuki Warriors versus Becky Lynch and Charlotte. The Kabuki Warriors defeated Becky Lynch and Charlotte 26 minutes. Jeremy, your thoughts, sir?
It was the right call. This was the match I was most excited for. I think on paper, this was the match that had the most potential as well, because you knew it was going to be a car crash style kind of a match. Like they headlined last year with Asuka, Becky, and Charlotte, and that was a good match, that TLC match. So I had no issue with this being the main event. The problem was, I guess Kyrie got a concussion. I don't know what happened to her. She definitely got injured because she was knocked loopy. And once she was knocked loopy, it threw the match completely off. Like the spear spot, the power bomb spot, her just like weirdly running around trying to avoid taking any kind of damage. It just wasn't good. It really fell apart after that, whenever that spot was. It might have been when she did the elbow drop through the two tables that production completely missed, and I have no idea what actually happened on that spot. I just know that I guess Charlotte rolled out of the way and the table didn't break, and Kyrie looked dead after that. Becky didn't look good after that. I wouldn't be shocked if Becky had some type of injury as well. They tried really hard, but it fell apart with the injury, and it just looked it was overall just extremely sloppy and scary in a bad way. Like scary, and remember those Charlotte and Sasha matches from way back when we'd always be like, oh my god, these two ladies are gonna kill each other, and not in a good way. It just looks like they're gonna drop each other and just like in an unsafe way. Like that's what this looked like.
Yeah, I don't expect ladder matches to be like technically clean and perfect throughout, because part of the thing with a ladder match like this is it's supposed to be a little rough around the edges because you're bringing in all those elements. And they tried to get ambitious at times, and I think they suffered due to that because things were really just jointed and off early on. And this is even before Kyrie got hurt. Just things did not feel right. Like they were trying to like trap Charlotte in a chair. It didn't work right and stuff like that. And
yeah, that was weird.
Took them like 5 minutes to tie Becky to a ladder. It was really physical, and they took rough bumps and stuff like that. And they tried really hard. But as you brought up the Kairi Sane stuff, she looked out of it, and in a bad way. It was kind of scary there. And you would have, I mean, I know it's hard to do, but I mean, you were doing that table spot with Charlotte and stuff. You probably could have just like taken Kyrie out and just left Charlotte dead on the floor and done something instead of having her out there still. But the other thing too is just the match structure. For me, it felt like there was a real severe lack of drama because they spent like 80% of the match on the floor. They tried to rely on like big boom spots instead of really creating drama around capturing the titles. I had high hopes for the match. I don't think they delivered in that, especially in the main event. I guess it was solid overall, but also disappointing at the same time, because this is second month in a row, a women's match that looked like it had a lot of potential, got the headline, and didn't deliver for whatever reason. And again, I think there were problems before Kyrie even got hurt. I'm not even talking about that. So it's just everything seemed to work against them.
Yeah, I thought the match there were certainly problems before she got hurt, like the setting up the spot stuff. That's par for the course in these matches. Unfortunately, it is a lot of set it up, wait around, wait for something to happen. When they tied her to the ladder, it took a while. I appreciate their craftsmanship. At least I didn't do a shitty job like Joey Janela, where you could just easily get out of whatever kind of knots they were tying. But yeah, it was. I'm with you on like they didn't try to build around like winning the titles. They tried to build around hurting each other. But I'm actually okay with that because Becky and Charlotte were definitely like looking for revenge. Like the one spot where Asuka was laid out and Kyrie is going crazy, like throwing chairs and stuff. Like, why didn't just Charlotte and Becky and Charlotte are just standing in the ring with the ladder set up? Why didn't Charlotte or Becky just climb the ladder and the other one just, all right, if you're going to get in this ring, I'll just take you out. Like, why didn't that happen? And so they just both went outside to attack Kyrie. I'm okay with them building around like the revenge aspect instead of the title aspect. I wish commentary had pushed that a little bit more. I think that was a mistake that commentary wasn't cluing in enough on that. I did like the rope spot where Asuka pulled the rope as Becky was trying to climb at the very end. Charlotte also took a nasty powerbomb to the outside, which again, they completely fucking missed. They had good replays of it, but how do you not hit that spot? Like, production sucked in this match too. It was really bad. They missed a lot of stuff. Just a disjointed mess. And it was a shame because, I mean, I don't fault the women for the majority of this stuff, but at the same time, you look at WrestleMania, you look at Survivor Series, you look at tonight, they got to main event all of these shows, and none of it was like a memorable match. And that's unfortunate because they all had potential going in, but through some layout issues, some injuries, some crowd just being dead, whatever it was, like all of them were just, they were just matches.
Yeah, and like on like kind of a side note, and I guess maybe it's not like a big deal, but for me it is. Like, I like Asuka a lot. I think she's great, and this poor woman fucking gets overshadowed all the time because she wins the Women's Royal Rumble and then is overshadowed by Ronda Rousey's debut. And then she wins the TLC match last year, but that was overshadowed by Ronda helping her. And then she gets the win tonight basically on her own because Kyrie was in La La Land. And then I know she's a heel, but like they don't even get to celebrate because you have the fucking geeks coming out to brawl to like end the show.
That was really dumb. I guess it's because they didn't want a heel deal to close the show. And like they did this last month at Survivor Series. Like Shayna wins, and instead of closing the show with the heel, it's just Becky's got to stand tall to close the show. Like, have the heel stand tall to close the show. It's okay, build some heels. You don't have to go out on the crowd being like, oh, the babyface won, I can go home happy and stuff. Like, I don't know. I don't see the big deal of just having a heel win, close the show, and now you've added intrigue to the chase and stuff. There's nothing. Remember at was it All Out where like we both thought I was think far more adamant than you of Jericho, like there's no way the closing shot is just going to be Jericho holding the title. Like that's not going to be your closing shot. It's not because like Jericho was a heel. It's just I didn't think that was going to be your closing shot. And it was, and it's like, okay, that was the closing shot. Maybe it felt disappointing because they created such great expectations, but it didn't feel disappointing because Jericho the heel closed the show. Did this spear spot really add anything? Did it make you go, oh man, this show is so much better because it ended with this cool Roman Reigns spear? Like, no, it was dumb. Just close with Asuka winning, and if you want to have Becky attack her to stand tall again and get the heat back, fine. But I don't even think that was necessary. Let the heel close the show.
Sometimes the heel has to stand tall, and that also goes to the thing that sometimes I think, heels need to clean win. Heels don't always have to have shitty victories. Sometimes a heel can be, just better than the babyface occasionally. And, I don't know. It's just, I don't understand it. And it's like, yay, Roman speared him into a pile of geeks. The feud's
like the safest bump ever.
Yeah. But it's
like basically crowd dove onto people.
Yeah, so it's like the feud's going to continue. Thanks for reminding me. You reminded me of the really bad match from earlier this evening. Appreciate it.
How dare you criticize the big banter and the big dog?
Well, when Big Banter and the Big Dog have an actual good wrestling match, I will praise them.
Fair enough.
I have no problem. I praised Corbin when he did have good matches during King of the Ring and stuff. He had a good run during King of the Ring.
I think Kabuki Warriors winning was the right call. They're setting up for Becky and Asuka at Royal Rumble. I would assume it's headed that way, and that should be good until it's not. Not using the mist in this match was a weird thing as well. Like, I understand you don't want to like completely overdo it, but it's also been a big story on this. So even like if you use it and Asuka blinds Kyrie, shit, that could have at least taken Kyrie out of the match. So that poor girl didn't have to take any more bumps. But they didn't know that going in. But like, or just it missed, the missed, whatever. Like just not even using it at all felt like a missed opportunity. Yeah.
You're thinking back on that match, I'm trying to think back to where she possibly got knocked out, and I'm thinking there was a spot when Charlotte and Becky were making the comeback, and they were like flinging them around, and I think she got like thrown into the barricade and went like kind of ass over tea kettle and landed on her head. I think that might have been it.
People have said that, or from what I've seen, is it's the exploder suplex that Charlotte did on the floor, like into the railing that Kyrie took.
Yeah.
People have said like when they're throwing the monitors that she got bonked on the head with a monitor. And like I feel like it happened on the table, the elbow table spot, because she looked really rough after that. And maybe she was a little woozy before that and I just didn't notice, but that was where it was definitely noticeable where, yeah, get this poor girl out of here because she's lost.
Yeah, unfortunately. So, yeah, show ended on a kind of down note, and yeah, not a good show overall, Jeremy, I would say.
A very average at best show. The first two matches were good. Definitely watch those matches because they were the best thing on the show. After that, it fell off, and yeah, not a whole lot happening on this show. It was a throwaway show in every sense of the word, and like that's how it ended up being. Like they didn't announce shit for the show until a week before. They didn't have any of the major titles on the line. Universal, US, Intercontinental, WWE title, like those are your 4 top singles titles. They weren't on the line. Raw Women's, SmackDown Women's, 6 top singles titles, none of them on the line. Like you had some champions in action, but your top singles titles were not on the line on this pay-per-view. So it felt like a very throwaway show, and that's what it ended up being.
It was a very placeholder show because they didn't resolve anything. They just continued a bunch of stuff on, and I'm going to be honest, going into this pay-per-view, I wasn't really looking forward to it. I thought it was one that had some potential, not like a lot. I didn't expect a lot out of it. And then it started off strongly with the pre-show match and the opening 2 pay-per-view matches. I'm like, all right. I'm like, fucking hey, good. I'll be proven wrong all day long if I think something's going to be bad and it ends up being good. You know what I mean? I appreciate that. That's fine. Prove me fucking wrong. Started off well, but then like a lot of WWE pay-per-views this year especially, it just fell off a cliff, man, and never recovered. I thought the women had a chance to at least rebound it at the end, but a combination of an odd layout, some sloppiness, and then Kyrie getting hurt kind of torpedoed those chances. And it was not a good show after starting out pretty strong, and unfortunately, WWE closing the show on a down note.
Yeah, I don't even think you can blame a burnt out crowd on this because the show wasn't long. It wrapped up by 10:30. So, I mean, including the pre-show, it was 4.5 hours, which I guess is a little bit long. But overall, I didn't feel like it didn't feel long. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like one of those 5-hour WWE shows. It felt like it went by fairly quickly. It's just the action for the most part wasn't good. The count out finish kind of killed the crowd, and it never quite recovered after that. And I mean, let's be honest, the feuds going into this weren't anything like to write home about. The Roman Reigns stuff, it's all just campy. You know what I mean? Like the Reigns stuff is campy with the dog food and the mascot. The Bray Wyatt stuff is the campiest of camp. Like you can't do any more kind of camp comedy than that stuff. The Rusev and Lana stuff and Lashley stuff is just complete non-serious nonsense. And the Becky and Charlotte and Kabuki Warrior stuff is serious. Like that's actually the one serious feud they had going into this, and maybe it could have turned around, but unfortunately, layout, injury, whatever, it never really connected. And I mean, Becky's cooled off a little, Charlotte's cooled off a little. The Kabuki Warriors are great, but the fans are still kind of having a tough time connecting with them. Just nothing in the company feels all that hot right now.
No, you're not wrong at all. I agree with that. And I wouldn't even say that Becky and Charlotte have cooled off a little. I think they've kind of cooled off a lot, actually.
Yeah, compared to where Becky was heading into WrestleMania, she's ice cold. But they picked it up with her with the Sasha Banks stuff. So they heated her up good with that, but she's even cooled off since that. Charlotte, you know, she got picked up with the Trish Stratus stuff, but she's been cold after that. And then Kabuki Warriors, I mean, they've been cold all year until the heel turn, and that's still, again, that's good, but it's still like not quite. And I think people have like Charlotte has mentioned this herself, and this isn't an issue when you have these women and men, because the men do it too, do these interviews and talk about like what they don't like and what they don't think is connecting in the company. I think it's good. It's refreshing to hear this stuff. But the problem is, if you do hear this stuff, you realize kind of how dumb a lot of this is. Like when Charlotte goes on Corey Graves' podcast and be like, yeah, there's a disconnect in that. Why are Becky Lynch and I just like friends off of this? Like, it hasn't been explained all that well. And you've got Corey saying like Charlotte doesn't look motivated and all this stuff. Like the era of, okay, we're shooting, brother, and you know, let's light a fire and stuff is pretty much gone, and you're basically just revealing the secrets to the public. And if the public is reading this stuff, and a lot of them are, unless you're explaining it on television, it's tough to rebound from a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair, man. So, I don't know. Definitely a downturn to end the year for WWE, and you know we'll be starting up WrestleMania season with the Rumble here in January, and we will see where things go from there, Jeremy.
Hopefully they got something for the Rumble. I mean, Roman seems like the consensus right now. Rumble season's always fun. Like it's one of I love the Royal Rumble. It's my second favorite pay-per-view of the year after Mania, in terms of WWE. But yeah, I love the Rumble. I hope they got something, because it's a cold product right now. At least NXT's main roster, Raw and SmackDown. It's a cold product right now.
Yeah.
Well, we got fucking Shayna and Ripley on Wednesday, Larry.
Goddamn right, dude. Hyped for that. And Cole and Balor too. Yeah, we got some good stuff. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, the Raw and SmackDown, cold. Nothing they're doing makes me excited these days. So we'll see what happens. But that is going to wrap up our TLC 2019 coverage. And guys, just hang on, and we will talk about ROH Final Battle to close things up. All right, so we're going to close out this show. Just in the spirit of full disclosure, we're recording this on Friday night, so I'm adding it in after everything else you just listened to. We will now go back and cover ROH Final Battle 2019, which Jeremy is super excited to do.
I was more surprised by the non-intro, because you're editing this in. So I was waiting for the typical intro, and you're like cutting into, you've gone back in time, I guess.
That's right. Tarantinoing back to ROH Final Battle 2019.
Yeah, ROH. Let's go.
So we started off with the hour pre-show. Did you catch all these, Jeremy?
I watched the pre-show, Larry.
Awesome. All right, so we started off, first pre-show match, Silas Young and Josh Woods defeated Dalton Castle and Joe Hendry at 9:15 via pin. Your thoughts, sir?
It was fine. I guess they're setting up Woods and Young for a title shot, which is cool with me. Like they need some type of challengers there. Hendry and Dalton Castle just feel completely dead. Like I don't know what their plans are for these guys moving forward, but I have no interest in whatever it is. But the match was inoffensive.
Yeah, I thought it was a perfectly solid match, especially for a pre-show style match. Young and Woods winning takes them to 6-0 as a tag team, which they mentioned, and Ian Riccaboni also smartly mentioned that they do hold a win over Jonathan Gresham and Jay Lethal, which will make sense later on in the evening in terms of setting up title shot. So I was perfectly fine with it. Yeah, perfectly solid little opener, no real complaints. I do agree with you that Hendry and Castle just feel like they have absolutely no direction right now, though. I have no idea what they're going to do with them.
Joe Hendry got signed, and then they tried to turn him into something, and then once he got no reaction on whatever his little catchphrase is, then they were like, all right, cut bait with this guy.
He's just a dude.
Yep.
So we got a quick interview with Angelina Love saying that she wasn't scared of Maria Manic, even though she was going to get killed later tonight. Alex Shelley arrived. He put over Baltimore and all the great talent that's been in ROH and that have come back. He said that Colt Cabana didn't have a match on this show and that they never wrestled, and he wanted a match with him, and Colt Cabana accepted, so we got a bonus match later in the show, which I was fine with.
Yeah, it was okay. I like Alex Shelley. I like Colt Cabana, so I was fine with the match, and it was a nice little segment.
Yep. And then we went on to Kenny King defeating Rhett Titus at 12:20 via pin. This was the battle of ex-tag team partners. Rhett Titus had his wife and newborn son at ringside. Kenny King was a dick throughout the match. Ended up winning after a low blow. I thought it was pretty good for what it was. Nothing special. Maybe a smidge better than the opener. But with the finish and the way they worked everything, obviously the feud will continue.
It was better than I was expecting. I didn't expect much from this match, but I didn't think it was bad or anything. Yeah, I thought it was on par with the opener, maybe a little bit better. But I certainly was not expecting Kenny King and Rhett Titus to be something that I cared about. But they kind of hooked me in with the story a little bit, and I didn't mind this match. And then Kenny King taunting the wife and being a dick and stuff. Yeah, it wasn't bad. Actually, surprisingly, I guess.
And then we kept on. They shifted one of the pay-per-view matches to the pre-show. And we got Dan Maff and Jeff Cobb, where Jeff Cobb defeated Dan Maff at just over 9 minutes. I thought it was really good. It was fun, hard-hitting Hoss fight, pretty much what you'd expect from these guys. Slightly surprised with the Cobb win. Maybe that means he's staying, which would obviously be good for ROH because they need guys like Cobb. But yeah, I thought it was good. I thought Moff looked good. He looked good in his other appearances on the live events he's worked at Raw and Honor Club, and they had a Hossy standoff after the match where they shook hands and chopped each other and shook hands again. So apparently they're cool with each other after beating the shit out of them. So
can we talk about the bouncers trying to name drop Lamar Jackson and get the cheap Baltimore Ravens pop, and this crowd did not care?
Yeah, they did not care. I laughed more at the fact that when they were asking them who should win the main event and they were split on it, and Malonis' decision was based off the fact that Roosh is our friend and drinks with us.
I mean, that's a good reason to, want to be friends with the guy and to pick the guy to win. So anybody who's going to drink with you. Yeah. Cobb and Dan Maff. I like this match. It was, as you said, a good Hoss battle. It didn't go too long or anything because I guess they moved it to the pre-show to make the pre-show kind of a little bit more meaningful. They did some good power stuff. Jeff Cobb with the superplex that he hit was awesome, and Jeff Cobb winning was the right call, assuming he's going. I mean, even if he's not sticking around, like, you would just rather see Jeff Cobb win this match, I think. So overall, good match.
Yeah. So then we went on to the pay-per-view proper. I thought they opened smartly with Flip Gordon.
Main event.
Yeah, Flip Gordon and Marty Scurll versus Flamita and Bandito. The Mexi Bloods, Flamito and Bandito won the match at 14:05 via pin. Jeremy, your thoughts first.
Fantastic match, as you would expect from these four. Crowd was into, I think this was like the most they were into anything on the night. It was smart to open with this match. At the same time, like, I joked that it was the main event, but it kind of felt like it because crowd really liked all four guys. They were obviously going to give, Marty's still their biggest star. They were going to give him a big reaction. They like Flip. They like Bandito. Flamita does cool stuff, so he's easy to get into. And it was a really, really good match. Bandito and Flamita winning was fine. We'll see where it goes. Maybe we can finally get that 6-man title match. I have no idea what the hell they're doing with those things. But really strong opener.
Yeah, I liked it. Thought it was great overall. Everybody was working really hard. As you said, the crowd was into this. Probably more than anything on the show, I would agree with. A little bit of rough edges here and there, but very, very minor stuff. And I thought it was a really strong choice to kick off the show. Really enjoyed it. And yeah, Flamita and Bandito rocking as a tag team, I will not complain about because they're pretty fucking great.
Yeah.
Next up, your boy Vincent defeated Matt Taven at 1340 via pin. Okay, overall, I actually thought this was good. I thought they played to the tone of the feud well. Like, Taven wasn't fucking around. He was running wild, looked pissed off. And he actually played babyface pretty well. The crowd wasn't into it as much as the opener, but they were into Taven decently. A little more than I thought, actually. He ended up being his own worst enemy, though, because he got pissed off at the end and tried to kill Vinny with the axe, and that led to the finish. It was, he countered the axe attack, and Vincent hit the sliced bread, and he won. So it was kind of out of nowhere, kind of flat. I think the biggest problem I have with this is Vincent's defining heel characteristics appear to be that he's weird, poses a lot, and says, "Yeah, man." Like, a lot.
It was fine. The crowd was, like, into Matt Taven, and that was weird because they weren't into his entire title reign, but now that he's a babyface, I guess, like, they like him, which I guess is good that they're cheering him as a babyface, but it was just weird that Matt Taven like got good reactions and got the reactions that he didn't have like go away heat. Babyface Matt Taven is saving ROH. That's what's gonna happen here. Better than I expected. And then the post match angle. Someone had a good joke because Taven brings in the axe and like the referee just doesn't do shit about it. He's like, whatever, do what you want. And someone joked, is murder legal in ROH? And Joe goes, well, yeah, Taven murdered their business this year. Nobody did anything about it. So,
oh, Christ. Yeah, the post-match, Bateman arrived. He's a newly signed dude. Gave the tombstone to Taven, and then Vincent brought in a wooden block, and they went all Kathy Bates and Misery on him and allegedly broke his ankle.
Yeah, I like the post-match angle. I don't know about a stable with Vincent as kind of your leader there, but I do like Bateman. The stable has a good look. The angle was nice. Even like I'm not the biggest Matt Taven fan, but I felt a little bit bad for him here. So overall, I enjoyed this much more than I thought I was going to.
I agree. I did too. So, I mean, yeah. I think that the thing with Taven too is if you objectively look at like his wrestling style and stuff, it's like he does have a good babyface arsenal. He really does, and like he has a lot of stuff that'll pop the crowd. I don't know how it's going to play long term and if personality wise it'll work, but I mean, I think there are some legs to it. I just, again, you need to kind of calm yourself with Matt Taven into the fact that don't talk yourself into thinking he's the guy is the problem, because we've already figured out that he wasn't.
You're wrong. Babyface Matt Taven is the guy.
Next up was you're wrong, but anyway. Next up was the street fight between Mark Haskins and Bully Ray. Bully Ray sneak attacked Mark and Vicky Haskins before the match, laying them out with a barbed wire board, and that got Vicky taken out. And Mark Haskins won this match, Jeremy, in 16 minutes and 50 fucking seconds. Bully Ray
match
in 2019.
Forever. Fuck. It just kept going and going, and I even tweeted at one point, like, this match is still going on. It was so slow. It was so plodding. Bully Ray dominated. They tried to turn Haskins into Tommy Dreamer, like, hit me, you pussy, and he's yelling, fuck you on the mic and stuff, which I can appreciate a good fuck you. It went forever, and then it ended the way it should have, I guess. That Bully Ray got his comeuppance and everything, and cool. Like, he puts guys over. The problem is he puts them over after beating the shit out of them for 20 minutes, and it's tough to look at that as he made the guy. It's just he beat the shit out of the guy. They needed help to win. He needed his wife to win, and it made sense. He took his wife out to start the match. She came back. She got her. It all makes sense. I just don't know how much this actually does for Haskins.
Well, I'll tell you, it does absolutely nothing for him. This was every Bully Ray ROH match he ever works. He takes 95% of the match. As you said, he beats the shit out of the guy. He gets more time than anyone else on this show so far. And then he only loses when the babyface gets help, like when Flip Gordon got his big win. In theory, the story is fine because the babyface does win in the end. The babyface does get his revenge. But it really does nothing for Haskins going forward because, again, he needed help. And it also doesn't help when he hits the double stomp, the ref counts 3, and then Bully Ray does that bullshit kick out right after 3 stuff.
I noticed that as well, that he kicked out immediately after the 3. And it's like, dude, like, if you're going to put the guy over and lay there. Like, don't kick out right after the 3 count. Like, that's bullshit. So, yeah, Again, it all makes sense. I understand what they were trying to do. It just the execution was very poor.
Completely agreed. Next up, we had our gentlemen's match between Alex Shelley and Colt Cabana. Alex Shelley won at 6.5 minutes or so via pin. I thought it was a good change of pace after the street fight, and I thought it was a fun and well-executed little technical wrestling match.
Yeah, after the street fight, you needed something a little bit slower, more methodical, and Cabana and Shelley could go out there and do this. I wonder how much of this was, one, I think they wanted to get Cabana on the show in a wrestling capacity, and Alex Shelley was there, and, it's a fine match to book because, according to Shelley, they've never wrestled each other, so they probably were just happy working against each other. Cabana's also got the NWA stuff, by the time you listen to this, the NWA stuff will be done. But recording this, he's got the NWA stuff tomorrow night. I don't think he's going to work a hard style in the NWA, but I think they probably didn't want him taking too much here in that there's always that injury risk. And maybe ROH was looking out for the NWA a little bit, or Cabana was looking out for his NWA investment a little bit there. Either way, I think this is the right kind of match to have. And it was good. Both guys can wrestle that technical style, even though Cabana is known for his comedy. Like, he can work this style, and Shelley is one of the best and one of the more underrated guys in this generation.
Yeah, a nice little gentlemanly match, no bullshit, no angles, just two fellas with some grappling and technical wrestling. And yeah, again, nice little change of pace, and I'm all for that. Okay, before we get into the next match, Jeremy, I know you have the big Women of Honor band, but let me ask you this question. On the surface, when you look at this match, Maria Manic versus Angelina Love, how would you have booked it?
It would have been a 30-second squash.
Okay. Maria Manic obviously going over and destroying Angelina Love, right?
No, Angelina Love winning. This Maria Manic loser has been signed since June and hasn't wrestled. She's obviously no good. Yeah, Manic should have squashed her in 30 seconds.
All right. So the match, Maria Manic defeated Angelina Love at 6 minutes and 25 seconds via submission. Now listen, I will give them this. They had the right idea here because Maria Manic looked great and she beat the shit out of Angelina Love. She beat the shit out of Mandy Leon. But I don't understand why it had to go 6 minutes. It felt way too long when you could have accomplished it, at the very least, in half the time, if not shorter. I mean, because Love didn't get any comeback, any shine, or anything. She just got dominated. It only really went that long because Maria Manic decided to beat up Mandy Leon and pose a lot.
Yeah, I will talk about this match. I will lift the ban for this, but mainly to look at the overall bigger Women of Honor picture and just rant and complain about it some more. It went too long because, as you said, Angelina Love got nothing. It was just a 6-minute squash, and squashes don't need to be 6 minutes. If it's a squash, it's a squash. You get it done in 2-3 minutes maximum, and you get out of there. Like that's the whole purpose of the squash. Now, the bigger picture here is Manic wins, looks like a killer, even though it took her 6 minutes. And this is good. She looks like a star. She has star presence. She has a defined character and all of this stuff. Can you name me 5 active Women of Honor competitors?
Okay. 5 active Women of Honor competitors. Okay. Maria Manic.
No, not counting Manic. Not counting.
Okay. Sorry. Angelina Love, technically still, unless she's leaving.
Okay.
Sumi Sakai.
Is she active? When was the last time she wrestled?
She had a match on one of the recent live event shows that I covered.
Okay, I believe you because you keep up with it.
Jenny Rose, who had a match on one of the recent shows. And I guess technically Mandy Leone. But
when was the last time Mandy Leone wrestled?
She wrestled on the UK tour. I'm stretching a little bit. I can only give you 4. So you got to give me the Mandy Leone to get me to 4, but that's it. Yeah, no, I'm allegedly Martina Session Moth is coming in, but maybe she thought better of it by now.
Yeah, really. All right, Mandy Leone did wrestle in November, so it's been a month since she's wrestled. So I guess technically she's active.
Okay, yeah. See, there you go.
Yeah. So you named 4, and we're stretching here. Maria Manic could be a star. Again, she has all the qualities. The problem is there's nothing in this division. Absolutely nothing. Like, she's already squashed one of these people. So Mandy Leone ain't fucking beating her. Sumi Sakai, maybe. I don't know what they're doing with Jenny Rose. I didn't know she was active. Kelly Klein is gone. Like, they don't even have a champion right now because of that whole ordeal. It's a dead division. And even if Maria Manic can stand out in some way, it doesn't matter because you have no depth behind her.
Completely agree. Yeah, I mean, in theory, I mean, the win looks really great, and she looked really great, and like you said, there is star potential, but there's absolutely no division around her. So...
Session Moth and Maria gonna feud for like one whole year until maybe
they're gonna be the Dana Brooke and Sarah Logan of ROH.
Yeah, actually, that's a good comparison. They're
working 2-star specials around the loop.
They're gonna have a best of 31 or something.
I guess. Okay, well, the good news is the show started to get better from here. Your boy, Jeremy Shane Taylor, the best in the world, faced off with Dragon Lee. Unfortunately for you, Dragon Lee defeated the best in the world, the TV champion Shane Taylor, 14:45 via pin. Your thoughts first.
I'm fine with Dragon Lee winning. I like Dragon Lee. Good match, really good match. On the level of the tag team opener, I did like the tag team opener a little bit more. The one thing that kind of held back on this match was, one, after Shane Taylor hit the greetings from 216, the crowd was like, it felt like they wanted that to be the finish. Like, the crowd was behind Shane Taylor, and so they wanted him, it seemed, to win this match. And so when that wasn't the finish, the crowd seemed a little bit dejected. So that took away a little bit. And then Dragon Lee he needed a lot to put Shane Taylor away, which I'm cool with, but I don't know if it like fit with Dragon Lee. And I think it would have had your big angle played out after the main event, but it didn't. And so now I'm just I'd be interested into where they're going with this Dragon Lee, except that I don't have any faith that they're going to actually do like anything of substance with him outside of just have matches. I don't think they're going to actually tell a story with him. But they put Shane Taylor over strong in this match, and if he's done, which it seems like he is, the text leaked that he wasn't re-signing. He told reporters 3 days ago that he hasn't re-signed. His contract's up at the end of the year. They got a couple weeks to get it done, but if those texts are to be believed, it's not going to happen. So he went out strong. Dragon Lee winning, no problem with that. Love Dragon Lee. I don't know what RH is going to do with Dragon Lee, though.
Yeah, and to kind of quick background so you know what Jeremy's talking about, basically what happened during the match is Shane Taylor had brought a chain into the match. Dragon Lee cut him off, ended up loading up the knee pad with it, gave him the running knee strike, and he got 1 off of that. Hit Desnucador, got 2, took out Shane Taylor's manager, dropped the knee pad, and then finally hit the running knee strike for the pin. So, yeah, I mean, obviously they played the fighting from underneath thing really well, and like Jeremy said, I had this big idea of a possible big angle at the end with like a Roosh Dragon Lee faction with some other guys. Did not happen, spoiler, for the next 5 minutes when we talk about it. But it would have been interesting because that would have shown like maybe why Dragon Lee had more of an edge and was willing to do heelish stuff. But it was just more he was willing to do it to overcome the bigger Shane Taylor. So I thought the match was really great. I thought they played the size difference really well. I thought they kept a good pace. And I thought the closing stretch was really, really great. And as you said, yeah, if Shane Taylor is done with the company as rumored, I thought he put in a great effort in his way out. And he had a strong TV title run with 12 defenses. I thought he did a lot of good work this year, and I think it's horrifically stupid if they're not re-signing the guy because they put a lot into him this year, and he delivered, and now it's like, we put all this into him, and we're just going to let him go.
And this is ROH. Yeah, I'm with you. Why build the guy the way you did and then don't re-sign him? Like it doesn't really make any. It's one thing if he turns you down, okay, then it is what it is. Like I still think you build the guy, like we talked about it with LAX. Like you still do what you can to show that you're worth staying there, and then you try to re-sign him. But why do all this and then not even try to re-sign him? Very weird.
Yeah, I have absolutely no clue. And you know what? Like you said, hey, maybe he turned them down. And if that's the case and he has money waiting somewhere for him, good for Shane Taylor.
I don't think that's it, though. Like, you saw those leaked text messages or emails. Like, by all accounts, it's that they didn't offer him a contract. Or they're not going to offer him a contract.
Well,
I mean, Joey Mercury.
Said, I'm just slightly playing devil's advocate. I mean, I agree. If they're not re-signing him, they're stupid.
Well, they're probably stupid.
I think it's a really, really dumb fucking move. But I mean, like I said, hey, but all I'm saying is if Shane finds a way to get paid somewhere else, good for him. I mean, seriously.
Somebody will pick him up. He had the television title reign, I think, did good things for him. I like the Shane Taylor promotions gimmick. I think you can run that somewhere. I don't know if anybody will, but I think he'll do well on if he wants to just do like a little independent run as well. His booking fee will probably be pretty good, and maybe he does well there. I say somebody will pick him up, but like, our WWE has so many guys that I don't know if they're going to bring them in. AEW has so many guys right now that I'm not sure if they're going to want to bring them in. But maybe he gets an AEW deal and then can keep doing independent dates like a lot of guys seem to have right now.
I'll tell you honestly, where I'd like to see him go is I'd like to see him get Impact.
Oh, that's a good call. For some reason, Impact just blanked my mind, which
because I agree with you. WWE has way too many people right now. I think he could do really well in NXT, but I don't know if he'd get the time. And AEW, as you said, I mean, they have to work out how they're going to use everybody they have right now. So I don't think you need him, especially if there's a possibility of like a Marty coming in. So I mean, yeah, if I'm Impact, I take a flyer at Shane Taylor, man, because I think. Again, he had a really good 2019, and I think he's a very positive addition to that roster.
He definitely is, and I like what Impact has done this year. I don't know how many people are watching the product, but their television show is a relatively easy watch. They do some interesting and different things, and I think Shane Taylor can. And like the one thing I will say about Impact is, they're not afraid to just it's kind of like what AEW talks about being, in that they'll do all this different kind of wacky stuff, and they're not afraid to push the envelope a little bit. And sometimes it can be corny and stuff, but a lot of times like it does hit with that audience, and they've created. I've knocked them before for creating for not knowing like who they are and creating like just a like trying to mix different universes and stuff like that. But now I think they've just created an Impact universe, and it works for them. And so Shane Taylor can probably have a lot of freedom there and do very well. So I like Shane Taylor to Impact.
By the way, I don't know if you saw it, but last weekend they did a Impact Plus special and a Twitch special. Elgin and Cage had a fucking great match on the Twitch special. Almost as good as their Slammiversary match. Like, really fucking great. I kind of wish that they would, like, throw that on TV during the holidays when they're doing, like, the best of stuff.
Did Josh Matthews need his phone back to cut the Twitch stream again?
No. Thankfully, it came off without a hitch. There were no technical issues on this Twitch show.
That's one of the best moments of 2019.
Yeah, it was funny. I agree, but no, it was. They had a really, really great match. So I really enjoyed that. Rich Swann and Sami Callihan had a good match on the Impact Plus special as well. Great match, not as good as Cage and Elgin, but very good stuff.
I don't have Impact Plus. Give me your account.
I see how it is.
I'll trade you my Athletic password and account if you want to read stuff by The Athletic.
I don't give a shit about The Athletic.
How dare you? They do good work over there.
Yeah, I don't read it. I don't have time, dude.
Fair enough.
I have to watch all this. I have to watch all this wrestling, and then I got to find time for all the stuff on my DVR.
I don't have time to watch all this wrestling. That's why I can't watch these Impact Plus and Twitch specials and all this stuff. Like I barely watch AEW Dark. Like, it's pulling teeth for me to watch that right now.
I hear you, dude. So obviously you're not watching the greatness that's WWE Main Event with superstars like Ricochet and Cedric Alexander.
I saw they were on Main Event. No, I can't remember the last time I watched Main Event, but I did see that they were on there and people freaked out over it.
Well, the best part is everybody was telling me, don't worry about it. I know you're going to knock it right away. I'm sure they're going to get plenty of time. They got 5 fucking minutes. And it wasn't even an awesome 5 minutes like Aleister Black and Tozawa on Raw.
Why? They're on Main Event. They probably just went out there. They were like, all right, cool. We're getting paid to be on Main Event. Let's just work some bullshit match that no one's going to see and collect our paycheck. That's probably not the mindset you want them to have. But at the same time, like when they've been on Raw and working top angles and stuff, like it's tough to just go to Main Event and feel very motivated. So
can't blame him. To jump back to Impact real quick, I was reviewing Explosion this week. Absolutely phenomenal Explosion match performance by Ethan Page. Because most of the time, like Explosion, it's like one of the stars versus a local, and it's a very go-through-the-motions match. Ethan Page is working this match with Cody Deaner, and they're in Windsor, so Cody Deaner's all over because that's where he worked a bunch of BCW. Ethan Page was working the most glorious, and I mean this in the best way, over-the-top heel house show style, making everything big and just doing everything, selling almost to ridiculous degrees to put Deaner over. It was so much fun. So, love Ethan Page.
Ethan Page is cool. He's a good worker. He does some cool backstage stuff and vlogging stuff. He was the one who I think pitched the throwback show, and he may have pitched the TNA One Night Revival stuff as well.
He did pitch that One Night Revival show because when him and Josh Alexander were doing the Twitch stuff for them, he talked about it all the time, especially when they had Scott D'Amore on, because they were reviewing like a Scott D'Amore Dusty Rhodes match. He's like, we need to do it, man. TNA One Night Only. Bring back the 6-sided ring. One night only. WrestleMania weekend. Come on, Scott. And they were on him for like 20 minutes about it. So.
Yeah, so... Ethan Page is a multitasker in Impact, and he's just a nice guy.
He is. So, okay, back to the ROH pay-per-view. Tag Team Championship match, Jeremy. Jay Lethal and Jonathan Gresham defeated the Briscoes 21-10 via pin to become the new Tag Team Champions of the universe. It ended with Gresham making the save on the Doomsday device and Jay Lethal cradling Jay Briscoe with the tights to pick up the win. I thought it started off a little bit slow, but I thought it really developed into a great tag team match with a really well done closing stretch. I thought the right call, they made the right call in crowning new champions, and not only the title change, but the heelish finish also sets us up nicely for a rematch down the line, which I am all for.
This was a really good match. I still like the opener a little bit better, but
I can see that.
between this, the television match, and the opener, like it was three strong. My math sucks. 3 strong matches on this card that I don't do star ratings, but 3 matches where you could take time out of your day to watch them and not feel like you completely wasted your time. And what I did like about this match is that it felt like they were capable of more. And typically that can be like a bad thing. Like, okay, go out there, do all you can, steal the show, whatever. But in this case, like it was still a really good match. And because of how the finish was kind of played out, as you said, like it sets up a rematch. And because it was a slow build to start before it kicked into that next gear, it's like, all right, they can probably have a better match if they want to go out there and do it in the rematch. So overall, just really good. I don't want to say basic tag team wrestling because that might come off as like a knock, but like that's what it was. They stuck to a basic tag team formula, but when you do that correctly, like these 2 teams did, then it works, and this worked.
Yeah, they did a great spot. Lethal and Gresham did this move. If you guys don't follow a ton of ROH, it's this it's like a rolling cutter where Jay Monkey flips him into a cutter, and they used to call it the Cornette cutter to annoy Cornette. So they went to do that. They did a big breakdown spot. They went for the Cornette cutter, but Gresham got caught out of midair by Mark into a DVD for a really good near fall. So I thought that was cool. Just a lot of good stuff. I thought it built smartly all throughout. They hit the home stretch really hard. And like you said, too, that opening tag on the pay-per-view and the TV title match are your really standout matches for this show.
Good call winning or having Lethal and Gresham win. I think that was the right move for, short term and long term. Like the Briscoes are the Briscoes. They're going to be fine regardless. Lethal and Gresham with the heel turn by both men, they needed this win because if you beat them here, it's just like, all right, you failed at your big heel turn here, so why should we buy into you moving forward? And as I said, and as you said, like because of the way they did the finish, you can go back to this match and you can work potentially an even better match.
I think so, yeah. So that's going to take us to our main event of the evening, Jeremy.
That should have been the main event.
Well, yeah, but the ROH World Title match. PCO defeated Roosh to become the new champion at 22.5 minutes via pin. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I don't know. The match sucked.
You go then, so you're already starting.
All right, the match sucked. That's what it was. We figured it was gonna need some type of smoke and mirrors, and I guess they changed it to a smoke and mirrors match at the very end. Fine, like I'm cool with that, because if they tried to do just a straight wrestling match, it probably would have been worse. The problem was they did the smoke and mirror stuff, but it went fucking forever, and it just the offense wasn't good. PCO, God bless him. The story is great. It's cool how he was essentially left for dead many years ago, and then Janela books him. He and Walter chopped the fuck out of each other, and now he, a year and a half, I guess almost 2 years later, he's ROH World Champion. Like, it's a cool story, but at the same time, he's 2 weeks away from being 52, and he can't really work that well anymore. And he goes out there, he tries, he busts his ass, he takes a bunch of big falls and stuff, and like it's fine, but like he's wrestling Roosh, and Roosh is good. And Roosh just got brought down to like that kind of PCO level. And okay, we've seen garbage match. I mean, we saw it this year with Moxley and Omega, and it was good, but that's because like both guys could keep up with each other doing this stuff. This was just one dude trying to kill himself, and Roosh just kind of playing along, and it it was very sports entertainment. I compared it to like the Hell in a Cell match with Rollins and The Fiend. His Destro comes out, then he shocks PCO back to life, and like, okay, the crowd kind of liked it, but they were dead for most of this match too. It was just the most sports entertainment thing ever. And fine if you want to do that, but you still need to like do it well. And this wasn't done well. The crowd did not care. And PCO wins, which you can give your thoughts on the match, and then we'll talk about the decision to put the title on PCO.
All right, so Jeremy, our thoughts are going to echo a lot. They have this match. It's way too fucking long. It was something, and it wasn't good. We talked about this in the preview. If you read my written preview, I was fearful of the kind of match we were going to get. And we got exactly what I feared. This was really slow. It was a completely disjointed plunder brawl. And then, like, midway through, they do this spot where Roosh, like, kills PCO by throwing him off the stage onto a fucking pile of barricades. And there's a hearse there that PCO allegedly drove to the arena, and it's billowing with smoke and fog and shit. And Destro, the dude that reincarnated PCO, arrives, and he gets jumper cables, and he's going to open the hood, and he's going to jumper cable PCO back to life. But this motherfucker can't open the hood. He could not open the hood, so he had to rip the fucking plastic grating off. And then, like, shove the jumper cables in there and then pretend to electrocute PCO. It was at this point they completely lost the crowd. They were mildly into it until that point. And then when it got to there, everybody was kind of like, fuck off. It breaks down into a collection of putting fuckers through a door, chair shots, barricade shots. It's the PCO match. It's the one match ROH knows how to book. He goes through a bunch of shit. He takes a bunch of punishment. He misses the senton onto the apron. And then he fires and makes the big comeback because he's not a man, he's a monster. And he overcomes and he hits a PCO salt through the table and he wins the championship. As Jeremy said, the PCO win it's a lovely fucking story. It really is. It's a great comeback story. But if you're in the position ROH is in right now, it's not the story you tell right now. You've cut the fucking knees off of the Roosh title run already. Why? Now, I've read somewhere, a couple places, that, well, Roosh isn't setting the world on fire. How long has he had the fucking belt?
Yeah, he got it in September. Like, he's had it for less than 3 months because it was the end of September. And of course, he's not setting the world on fire. Matt Taven burned the entire world. Like, I guess setting the world, whatever. Matt Taven made it fireproof or something. I don't know. But yeah, Matt Taven set the world on fire. And that's the problem.
You can't expect Roosh to undo 9 months of damage in 3 fucking months. Okay?
No, like this was wasn't this their first big pay-per-view after Death Before Dishonor?
Yes.
Yeah, so he didn't even get like a big pay-per-view to try to turn things around. He got television, which no one watches except for you, and he got some, and they had a UK tour in the middle of that, which it's tough to gain traction in the US when you're spending a weekend or so in the UK. And then to make matters worse, all this bullshit with Kelly Klein comes out. Like, that's not Roosh's fault.
Exactly. So again, the PCO story I don't have a problem with. It's nice, but it was the wrong time. It's a lifetime achievement award for the guy, and that's fine, but it was a bad main event. It was bad professional wrestling. It wasn't even a well done story that at the end you felt like, it wasn't like when it was over I was like, God, I feel so good for PCO. That was such a great thing. It's like, no, it's just all I could feel was it was a bad match that was poorly put together that nobody cared about, and you made another bad business decision.
Yeah, the fact that the match sucked, and so that's never good. That your big main event, your big championship title change here ends in a match that completely sucked, and that the crowd didn't pop for, didn't care about anything like that. Like if PCO wins and you shave 10 minutes off of this match, because it did not need to go 22 minutes. You shave.
It went 22:30. So if we shave about 21 off of it,
Yeah, you shave at least 10 minutes off of this match, and PCO wins, and all right, maybe it's like a 2.5, 3-star match or something, but he still gets like a big pop or something. It's like, all right, maybe, at least he got that pop. We'll see what happens. But this is just, it wasn't a memorable match. It wasn't a memorable pop. It wasn't a memorable moment. As you said, like when PCO won, I didn't feel like, oh, this is cool. Like this is a good moment for him. I felt like, this is fucking stupid. Like, why would you just job out Roosh like that? Cut off his title reign when he was a good thing you could have had going, and then the match sucked. On top of that, it just PCO's not turning their business around. All right, he has a nice little cult following that's cool. It's not going to mean anything because he can't work. Like he can't, like, what's your main events going to be? These PCO matches aren't cut.
I mean, they're not. And again, this is no disrespect to the guy because he works his ass off. He takes bumps that he shouldn't be taking at his age. I'm not saying he doesn't work hard. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve a chance. I'm talking, we're also talking business-wise. Not just match quality, not just quality of your shows. We're talking about you're trying to turn a business around that underwent a horrible first 2/3 or 3/4 of your year. And it looked like you were going to turn things around with that Roosh title win. And, then on this show, you look at the things you did on this show. I mean, again, it's not all perfect, right? But let's at least be a little positive here. Silas Young and Josh Woods are put in perfect position to challenge for the tag titles. They're undefeated, and they hold a win over the new tag team champions. This is a good thing. Flamita and Bandito looked awesome as a tag team. That's a good thing. The Matt Taven babyface run may have a little potential. He got over pretty well tonight, okay? You tried. Now, you don't have the division to back it up, but they tried to make a star with Maria Manic. I don't know if it worked or not, Jeremy, but they tried. But to your point, they don't have the division to back it up right now. Dragon Lee as your TV champion is a great move. He had a great match. He has a chance to work with a ton of guys and have more great matches. I think that's a positive move. Jay Lethal and Jonathan Gresham have a great tag team match. They're going to have rematches with the Briscoes, probably have more great matches and possibly great matches with other people. They're fresh champions. I really like that. That's a good thing. But then you have stuff like Bully Ray chewing up 17 minutes of pay-per-view time in an effort that really doesn't put Haskins over. And then that main event, it wasn't good by any stretch of the imagination. People are going to try to tell you it's a good match. Don't fall for it. It's a trap. I'm borrowing from my friend Garrett. It's a trap. It was not good. And again, this isn't like, it's not like PCO was this super hot babyface and he's moving a fuck ton of merch. He's not Marty fucking Skrull.
Yeah, that's the other thing is, all right, if PCO had some momentum, then okay, cool. He really didn't. The last big match he was in, which was the Marty match, wasn't good. That kind of sucked. And that kind of sucked a lot of momentum out of PCO. They had Taven. Honestly, he had the most momentum when he faced Taven. And if they had done the title switch there, and that match is actually good, shockingly good. had they done the title switch there, like that would have been a pretty big reaction, and it would have been like, oh, okay, like this is, I don't know if PCO is a long-term solution, but this, he can do something here. We'll see what happens through the summer with him, because I think that was like Taven's first title defense. But they didn't put it on him there, and then they spent the summer in the fall doing nothing with PCO until he had the Skrull match, which did more harm than good because no one really wanted to see him beat Skrull, but he did, and the match wasn't good, and the post match stuff, yeah, like the whole ordeal was just weird and sucked, and just, yeah, and then he had no momentum going into this. Like when we did the preview, I was like, I don't care that this is the main event. I like Roosh. I like PCO. I'm not excited for this main event. And they had that match, and now PCO is your champion, and I don't know what they're doing. If this was their audition to get on the WWE Network, it was perfect. And that's what I'm going to take this as.
Overall, show-wise, Jeremy, what did you think of Final Battle 2019?
3 really strong matches, so it's tough to say it was a bad show because you got 3 really strong matches that you should go out of your way to watch. But you also had the Bully Ray nonsense, which was just way too long, and then the lasting effect is your main event and what you closed with, and that's the taste that's going to be in everybody's mouth when they turn off the show, when the show ends, when they leave the arena, whatever. And the main event sucked. So for that, I can't call it a success because they just completely screwed up the main event. As far as an overall show, my enjoyment, I enjoyed it. It was a fairly easy watch outside of the 2 matches we talked about that just went way too long. But you got 1 really strong match per hour. I know 2 of those were back-to-back, but on average, you got 1 really strong match per hour. So it was a show. It didn't feel like the biggest show of the year for the company, that mainly because there was 200 people in attendance. And they booed Lamar Jackson, which I don't understand because he's awesome. And then you left them with that taste in your mouth at the very end.
Yeah, for me, Final Battle was kind of the best and worst of ROH all wrapped into one. The wrestling was largely good. There was even some great stuff. But you have the Bully Ray match eating up 17 minutes, which was just bad. He didn't really put Haskins over. The main event was bad. And it's just, I don't know, ROH does this thing to where they wait too long to pull the trigger on somebody on the big title win. And in Marty's case, they don't do it at all. So I don't get the PCO title win at all. It's not like he was a hugely overact. Nobody was begging for him to be champion. You cut off a year of Roosh being undefeated and possibly being a guy that could help turn you around. But of course, you don't give him a chance to run. You don't give him a chance to run with it. You gave Matt Taven a chance, but you're not going to give Roosh a chance. I thought the show was kind of between average and pretty good. It was far from bad, but it was also extremely far from the home run that this company need headed into next year.
It definitely wasn't the home run that they needed heading into next year. I don't even think it was a triple.
Ground rule double, maybe?
I was going to say a double on an error. So a single that got turned into a double because the outfielder misplayed the ball. I think that's a ground rule double might be a best case scenario, but I'm going with a double on an error because, yeah, they got to second, but look how they got there.
You know what the worst part about late night TV is on? I have my TV on here in the background as we're doing this. Is they're showing an infomercial for a fucking churro making machine. Churro magic. It looks like a Foreman grill and it makes churros, and I'm like, God damn, I want to buy that. I love a good churro.
What channel are you watching?
I don't know what channel I have on. It's just it's an infomercial, dude. It's on what am I watching? I'll tell you what I'm watching. Everybody's going to be wanting to know what the hell I'm watching now. I'm watching H&I because I had Star Trek reruns on in the background.
Okay.
But anyway, I need Churro Magic now. If anybody's shopping for Larry for Christmas, Churro Magic would be great. But
all right.
Anything else in closing on tonight's show, Jeremy?
No, it was ROH Final Battle. You're gonna make me keep watching this shit, I guess.
That's right, Jeremy. So at this time, I want to thank everybody for listening. This was the 411 on Wrestling Podcast. You can follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, the 411mania.com website, any major podcasting platform. Please make sure to subscribe to the show, share us around on social media, and if you have time, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or anywhere else you're listening. Until next time, I'm Larry Csonka, Jeremy Lambert joining me as always, and we will see you next time.